Last night may have been one of the most bizarre wins of this young 2023 season. I'll explain after this.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11, as well as the show page at LO_Nationals for all the latest Nationals news and notes in the minors, and as well up in the major leagues, where we follow the Washington Nationals every single day. Obviously, later on in today's show, it is the best day, and it is a Mackenzie Gore day up in New York, facing against the Bronx Bombers. What will happen? We'll preview that game later on. And also, there's a favorable matchup for this Nationals team. I'll break you down that game a little bit later on. Also, Mike Rizzo was on the Sports Junkies today. He talked about Davey Martinez's extension as that has become official. And Davey Martinez certainly deserves that. But also, on the other hand, is there a little concern that Mike Rizzo's extension has not been official? It has been reported, but it has not been made official yet. We'll get into that a little bit later on and some real thoughts on that, because there's been some speculation going around Twitter. We'll discuss that a little bit later on. But let's talk about last night's win first, because Josiah Gray did get the start in yesterday's ball game. And first and foremost, the Nationals won 2-1. C.J. Abrams had that massive home run in the 8th inning to take the lead off of Tommy Conley, who's been one of their best relief pitchers the entire year for the Yankees. Been probably their most consistent rock. That was just his second loss all season long. Now, while he's been up and down, he's been injured at some points, but even then, a 2.15 ERA over the course of the season, that's pretty damn good when you're looking at it. But even further more than that, let's talk about Josiah Gray first. Josiah Gray, while he only gave up one hit in the game, and that hit was against their 9th hitter, who was Ben Rortvedt. He's a fine player, I guess, a bench guy at best, but he got the only 2 hits of yesterday's ball game, and in fact, the one hit that Josiah Gray gave up was the home run against him. Josiah Gray threw more balls than he threw strikes in yesterday's contest. Now, while you look at the numbers and say, well, he did all right, only gave up one hit. Now, on the other side of this as well is that he still walked a decent amount of batters in yesterday's contest as well, walking 5 batters in 6 innings, only striking out 4. His ERA is down to a 3.85. But even furthermore than that, this game that the Nationals won was not really a Nats win, if you smell what I'm cooking. It was more so that the Yankees stunk. The Yankees lost this game yesterday. Now, while the Nationals, they had some good moments. The bullpen came in. They look really good. Josiah Gray held it together for the most part. C.J. Abrams, the 8th inning home run to take the lead. Those are all positive things. But this Nationals team did not play well in yesterday's game. And in fact, the starting pitching with Gray was maybe average at best. But even then, if you were to take away only giving up one hit, it wasn't all that great. It really wasn't. You saw a lot of balls go to the warning track. He just kind of got lucky. Now, one thing did really strike me last night watching Gray's game was that, and this has kind of been for the most part of the 2023 season when it comes to Gray, is when he is on, when he has a pitch that's on, and like, for example, last night, his slider was on. He had his slider, and yesterday we saw it as you saw his slider was thrown 25 times, and he had a 60% whiff rate on that slider. 25 times at around 90 pitches, not too bad for Josiah Gray. Now, while, again, he walked a lot of batters yesterday, 5 walks compared to 4 strikeouts, he didn't have his command. Simple as that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was still kind of getting it hit hard a little bit, as yesterday he had 7 hard hit balls against him. And let me reiterate this. He threw more balls than strikes. He had a 26.7% barrel percentage when Yankees batters were going up against him yesterday. This wasn't his best performance. And in fact, it may have just been an average performance at best. And I think a lot of this has to do with just a little bit of luck. A lot of hard hit balls yesterday. They just happened to find a lot of outfielders and as well as a lot of green grass because the Nationals defense, they showed up. But even furthermore than that, like this team yesterday, it just kind of goes into this 2023 season where they just find ways to win. They find different ways to win every single game, it feels like. Because yesterday, we had a stretch of from the top of the fourth inning into the top of the fifth inning, where the Nationals had 3 batters in a row try to stretch a single into a double, and all 3 of those guys were thrown out. It started off with Keibert Ruiz being thrown out by Aaron Judge at second base. Keibert Ruiz, I love you, man. Don't be testing people's instincts like Judge, especially the arm that he has. You don't want to be running on that. And in fact, when you're in this rally, when you need to get runs and you have a struggling starting pitcher like Carlos Rodon, let the bat come to you. Take your base, and it's as simple as that, in my opinion. You shouldn't be stretching out doubles when you have someone like Rodon who has been struggling immensely, and especially at Yankee Stadium. He hasn't pitched well this year. You have a loaded right-handed lineup for Carlos Rodon. You know what was coming in, and he didn't look all too bad. 6 hits in 6 innings pitched, only 1 earned run. That was 1 home run that he gave up against Carter Kieboom, and which was the huge story of yesterday's game, by the way. Just Carter Kieboom coming back in his first at-bat in the big leagues. The first pitch that he swings at is a home run, first at-bat since 2021. He gets that home run at Yankee Stadium. That was an awesome moment in this time. It really was. And we talked a lot about Kieboom in yesterday's game and what we want to see from him, or what I want to see from him moving forward. Should he be getting this everyday playing time? In my opinion, he probably should. And I think with last night, it just kind of goes to show you that don't forget about Carter Kieboom. And in fact, I think myself, I've been a little bit hard on Carter Kieboom. Now, while you could say, well, he had expectations and he just simply hasn't lived up to them, which I have made that statement many different times on this platform. And it's right. He hasn't lived up to it. But also on the flip side of it is that he's been injured. He's recovering from Tommy John surgery. He's had a lot of different weird aching injuries over the years. And I think that also kind of goes into it with how he has struggled over the season and how he has struggled over his career, really as a whole. Because as he gets up to the majors, it just feels as if he forgets how to hit. He forgets how to field. He forgets to do the simple things in baseball. But Carter Kieboom, first at bat, hits that home run. It wasn't a bomb by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a nice home run. It's something that you want to see from the young guys moving forward. But back to the game, it just felt like this team finds ways to win. But also, on the other hand, the Yankees just found a way to lose, as they have lost their 9th straight game, which I believe is the first time they've done that in over 40-plus years. This Yankees team is an all-time bad Yankees team. From my generation growing up in the 2000s, being a baseball fan, seeing Derek Jeter, Alex Rodriguez, Mark Teixeira, Jorge Posada, all those different guys who are part of those big-time Yankee teams who are always in it, who always seem to be in the World Series or in the ALCS, and were always contenders year in and year out. This team has just kind of fallen off a cliff. And as we saw in that 9th inning as well, the Brian Cashman booing chants. Oh my God. I mean, this team is a nightmare. They can't hit. 2 hits in yesterday's contest when you have Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton in yesterday's lineup. And you can't get hits off both those guys. Now, while Aaron Judge put a couple hard hit balls in the outfield, he still went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Aaron Judge, I mean, he's had a good year. He has an 1,000-plus OPS this season. He's doing well. But even then, DJ LeMahieu, not good. 0 for 2 with 2 walks. Gleyber Torres, 0 for 4. Giancarlo Stanton, 0 for 3. Anthony Volpe, 0 for 3. This is just a bad offensive Yankees team. And I feel bad for Stacy over at Locked On Yankees because I know she had expectations entering the season, and they just simply have not lived up to it. But you know who has lived up to it, in my opinion? Davey Martinez in the 2023 season, earning this contract extension, and Mike Rizzo as well has reportedly gotten an extension, but it's not official yet. And is it time to think about that a little bit? I think I got some food for thought for you. But before we get into that, I got to tell you guys about our friends over at eBay Motors. And for a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. And it's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Motors, guaranteed fit only, available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, exclusions apply. Now we get back into it as Mike Rizzo discussed Davey Martinez's extension this morning with the Sports Junkies over on 106.7 The Fan. And Mike Rizzo was asked about Davey Martinez and as well as his own extension. Here's just a little snippet of what he had to say. Quote, "Well, I'll put it this way. I'm Davey's boss. My job is to take care of Davey and take care of the guys in the clubhouse, and I've done my job. It was important for me to have ownership sign off on this multi-year contract. For me, it was important to have Davey solidified in that clubhouse as a guy that's going to be around and see this rebuild go through. That was a success and job well done, Mike. So I appreciate that, and Davey's been terrific. He's earned it. He deserves it. There can't be another guy to see this through. The guy went from World Series champ to rebuilder and hopefully comes out the other side as a champion once again." And then you asked about, or the Junkies asked about Mike Rizzo's extension as well as Davey Martinez's extension. Mike Rizzo never really commented on his own extension. Now, he was asked if he had anyone representing him in negotiations in the past, and he said, "GMs are not allowed to have an agent that is also a player agent. I can handle things on my own. I've been doing it for a long time. I've negotiated a lot of deals in my career and negotiated a few for myself. I think we'll continue that." Now, this report from Ken Rosenthal and Britt Giroli just a few days ago was that Davey Martinez and Mike Rizzo are both close to extensions with the Washington Nationals. Davey Martinez, that one has already become official. Mike Rizzo now has yet to become official. Now, is there a real reason to believe that this will not go through? Because that is kind of the main question here that's been thrown around on Twitter. And let me kind of put the speculation aside real quick, because a lot of people, I think, took this out of context from Barry Svrluga from the Washington Post, because Barry tweeted this out last night. And as we know, Barry is very tied in with the Nationals and as well as just the organization as a whole. He tweeted this out yesterday about 9 o'clock at night, I'd say. So this is interesting. And let me connect some dots that maybe shouldn't be connected. The Nats extended Dave Martinez. They have not yet come to terms with President of Baseball Operations, Mike Rizzo. The White Sox now have openings, stop baseball operations. Rizzo is from Chicago. White Sox owner Jerry Reinsdorf adores Rizzo's late father, Phil, a longtime scout, and Reinsdorf is one owner who may not be married to the modern Ivy similarly educated GM. Now, he did say this is pure speculation and nothing against that. But it is interesting because the White Sox let go of their 20-plus year president and as well as their GM. This is an interesting thing because Phil Rizzo, Mike Rizzo's father, both from Chicago, grew up in that White Sox organization. And it's fair to say that the White Sox would most likely be interested in someone like Mike Rizzo, someone who has won a World Series, someone who's done a rebuild, and it's looking like he's got a second successful rebuild on his hands with the same team in the same decade. That's really impressive, and you can't really find that anywhere else amongst baseball fans. You can't really look at a team that has teared it all down and has built it up better, as quick and as efficient as this Nationals team has done. Well, Mike Rizzo, the spotlight's on him now. What will he do? And really the question is this real speculation? Like, is this a thing? Could this happen? I'm here to say no. I just don't really think at this moment that's going to be the case. I have a feeling that this is all just speculation, in the fact that Mike Rizzo, there was reported that he will, or he's at least negotiating a new deal to become the Nationals president once again. I just think people are getting a little antsy. And I think the timing of all this is as why. Now, maybe the White Sox, maybe they are interested in him. Maybe they've contacted him. I don't assume that they can contact him, but who knows what happens in closed doors. I think it's interesting because there are connections there. And the White Sox, they need a splash. And they have Tony La Russa now, who's hired as like a special assistant to help Jerry Reinsdorf in that organization find the next president and GM as well. It's going to be kind of an interesting thought, because as far as Mike Rizzo goes, and as long as this drags out and the deal is not signed, the speculation is only going to get greater and greater and greater. So what's next? I still believe Mike Rizzo will probably sign an extension. Will it come over the next few days? Maybe. But will also come in a month or two, which is also a real possibility in this as well. I trust Britt Droly and Ken Rosenthal. Both Britt has covered this Nationals team for The Athletic and for many other different publications in the past. She's tied into this organization. I still believe that she's got the sources and the knowledge to put all this together to go out publicly and say this enthusiastically. I believe in Ken and Britt. I'm going to continue to believe in that report as well. They have no reason to really look back at this and say, well, connect these dots. It does look right. Yeah, it does look right. It does seem like a possibility that he could go to the White Sox. But also, what's really more intriguing at this point? The White Sox, they're far off. They're just starting this rebuild once again. They just sold off all their talent. They don't have the farm system that the Nationals do at this moment in time. They're going to have to start from the bottom up, just like the Nationals did 2 years ago. Mike Rizzo's already 2 years into this process, and he traded away one of the game's brightest players with Juan Soto to make that possible. He's already starting to see this thing through, so I expect him to see this through once again. It's not rocket science at the end of the day. I don't think Mike Rizzo would sign Davey Martinez just to make him safe or whatever for a new owner. I'm not really buying into that speculation, because this is a home for Mike Rizzo. He lives in the DC area. He still lives here year-round. This is home base for him now. He just had a kid last year, and he's married. He's got a life here. Now, while Chicago may be his home, that's where he's born and raised, but he's been living here for a while now. It's been over 10, 15 years at this moment. I don't think Mike Rizzo's going anywhere. And in fact, I think the speculation of it is just kind of speculation at the least. It's just you're throwing it around, and there is real connections there with the White Sox, with Chicago, Mike Rizzo getting a fresh start with an organization. Maybe he wants to move on. Maybe he wants to see a new scene and have a new mountain to climb. That's all possible, because those GMs and the presidents of baseball ops, whatever they want, they're competitive also. They kind of have an ego as well about this, just like we do, just like every single person out there does for something that they are called an expert in. There's a little bit of an ego there. He wants to be labeled as one of the game's best presidents in baseball operations, GMs, whatever you want to call them. And I think right here, right now, Mike Rizzo is still considered one of the best. And I think, honestly, we probably take for granted for what he has done. Because we've talked a lot about the swings and misses in the first round. We've talked a lot about the poor contracts with Steven Strasburg and Patrick Corbin. But he doesn't have a magic 8-ball in front of him that can also just say, oh, well, Patrick Corbin's going to flare out after 2020. He didn't know that. Steven Strasburg's going to have injury history for the rest of his career. He didn't know that. So all these different things, I think you could look at other GMs in baseball for the knocks on Rizzo and say the same for Brian Cashman, who right now, Carlos Rodon, their big free agent acquisition in the offseason, not pitching so hot. Garrett Cole, while he's been good, has he been worth the contract at this moment? That's up for you to decide. He's been a little hurt, a little banged up, and the numbers aren't the same. Now he's pitching in a very tough pitcher's ballpark with Yankee Stadium with, I believe it's 315 to left field and as well as right field. It's crazy what the damage you can do there at that park. But I'm not into the speculation at this moment with Rizzo. I still believe that he's going to re-sign with us, that he's going to get that extension. It's just a matter of time, and the speculation will always continue until it's official. So we'll just have to keep our eyes on that. But speaking of keeping our eyes on the prize, let's talk about this because we're going back to Yankee Stadium tonight with a 1-0 series lead. And you know who's on the bump? It is our guy, Mackenzie Gore. We'll preview that a little bit later on after this. And now let's get back into it as Mackenzie Gore is getting the start tonight against the New York Yankees. And you may ask, who is he going up against? It is the veteran Luis Severino, someone in the past who has been one of the Yankees' most consistent pitchers when he is healthy. But oh my God, has he been bad this year? And we've seen bad starting pitching over the years. Sorry to pick on Patrick Corbin here, but Patrick Corbin has been one of the worst starting pitchers in all of baseball dating back from 2020 all the way through 2022. 2023, he's taken a step up. He's been looking decent every now and then. But Luis Severino, he's telling Patrick Corbin to hold his beer. He has had an awful season for him. His ERA is in the 7s right now. And over his last 8 appearances, that includes 7 starts in those, here are his numbers, which are atrocious. Some of the worst I have seen over a stretch of 2 months. In his last 8 appearances, 7 starts, he has an 11.08 ERA. In that time frame as well, batters have a 7.29 slug against him. He's also given up 58 hits, 12 home runs, and 31.2 innings pitched. 31 2/3 innings pitched, a 7.29 slug, 58 hits, 12 home runs, and a negative 2.1 BWAR on the season. This has been bad, all-time bad for the Yankees and Severino. This is going to be a favorable matchup for the Nationals, hopefully, because anyone and everything has been able to hit Luis Severino. I believe if you and I were to step in the batter's box against Severino from what he has done this season, we're drawing a walk, we're getting a hit, and hell, we might even hit a home run. These numbers are bad. 11 ERA, 58 hits in 32 in a third innings pitch and 2/3 innings pitch rather, and a negative 2.1 baseball reference WAR on the season. Oh my God. And Mackenzie Gore is coming off one of his better starts all season, flashing his ace potential. And again, when you pitch in big-time games, when Mackenzie Gore is in this big-time situation like tonight in Yankee Stadium, I've always just had this thought that Mackenzie Gore is a big-game pitcher. He's waking up. Right now, he's probably listening to Eminem. He's probably just getting hyped for the game. That's kind of what I envision with Mackenzie Gore moving forward. I've always kind of had that ace mentality of him in my head, that this guy's going to get up. He's going to just do what he can to get the win in. And I think we're going to see that with Mackenzie Gore tonight, again, after just having a hell of a start in his last time around at home. Thank you guys for making Locked On Nats your first listen every day. You guys can catch the Nationals and the Yankees play tonight at 7:10 Eastern time, and you can catch Mackenzie Gore and as well as every pitch of the Nationals hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Nationals there. And of course, it's going to be a fun game tonight as the Nationals will try to attempt to take 2 of 3 up in New York, but they could be going for the sweep if they win today's contest. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. It'll be a fun one. We'll break down Mackenzie Gore's start. Hopefully, he can beat the New York Yankees. I'll catch you guys on the flip side.